Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
For 4 decades, an unspeakable deception unfolded quietly in the heart of America, concealed behind the sterile walls of medical offices and the reassuring authority of whitecoats. It began in 1932 in a small, dusty Alabama town called Tuskegee, and for the next 40 years, hundreds of black men would unknowingly become subjects in one of the most infamous and shameful episodes in the history of American public health. To those men, sharecroppers, laborers, and farmers, the United States Public Health Service promised free medical care, meals, and burial insurance. In reality, what they were given was neglect, falsehood, and suffering, all in the name of science. It was a betrayal so deep that its echoes still reverberate in the African American community, fueling mistrust of medical institutions to this day. The seeds of this deception were sown in a period when medical ethics, as we understand them now, barely existed. In the early 20th century, syphilis was a devastating disease. It spread silently, causing years of chronic illness before inflicting blindness, mental breakdown, and death. There was no reliable cure in the 1930s, only painful and often ineffective treatments like mercury and arsenic-based compounds. Against this backdrop, the U.S. Public Health Service launched what they called the Tuskegee Study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. The official goal was to observe the natural progression of the disease in black men. The unofficial truth was far darker. The men would not be treated, even after penicillin became a proven cure in the 1940s. The government, along with the Tuskegee Institute and the Macon County Health Department, allowed the disease to run its full, ravaging course, simply to see what would happen. Tuskegee was not chosen at random. Macon County, Alabama, was poor, rural, and overwhelmingly African American. The men targeted were often illiterate and had little access to health care, making them vulnerable to manipulation. Recruiters told them they were receiving treatment for bad blood, a vague local term used to describe various ailments from anemia to fatigue. In truth, they were being used as laboratory specimens in a decades-long experiment that stripped them of informed consent and basic human dignity. Doctors examined their bodies, drew their blood, and documented the disease's progression, yet withheld the one thing that could have saved their lives. The deception continued even after penicillin emerged in 1947 as the standard treatment for syphilis. While other patients across America were cured, the men in the study remained untreated. Some were given placebos, others were subjected to painful spinal taps disguised as special treatments, and all were denied the truth. Many passed the disease on to their wives and children, creating a generational legacy of pain. The medical establishment, from physicians to public health officials, justified the study as a necessary scientific endeavor. In their eyes, these poor black men were expendable in the pursuit of knowledge, a chilling reflection of the racist attitudes that shaped medicine in that era. The Tuskegee study persisted for 40 years not because its administrators lacked information, but because no one in power thought it was wrong enough to stop. Even as internal reports raised concerns and new treatments became available, the momentum of the experiment rolled on. Researchers published data, presented findings at conferences, and continued their observations while the human beings at the center of it all suffered. The experiment's longevity speaks volumes about the complicity of institutions, universities, health agencies, and government bodies that valued scientific curiosity over human rights. It was not until 1972 that the truth finally burst into public view. Peter Buxton, a whistleblower within the Public Health Service, leaked information to the Associated Press. The resulting story ignited national outrage, and public pressure forced the immediate end of the study. Investigations revealed the extent of the deception. 399 men with syphilis had been observed without treatment, while 201 men without the disease served as controls. By the time the study was stopped, dozens of participants had died from syphilis or its complications, and many wives and children had been infected. The outrage led to congressional hearings and sweeping reforms in medical ethics, including the establishment of institutional review boards to oversee research involving human subjects. Yet the damage could not be undone. The survivors received belated medical care and, eventually, a class action settlement in 1974, but the settlement was small comfort for lives and families already shattered. In 1997, 25 years after the study's exposure, President Bill Clinton issued a formal apology on behalf of the U.S. government, acknowledging the deep betrayal and vowing to rebuild trust. His words, though sincere, could not erase the enduring suspicion many African Americans still hold toward the medical system. The Tuskegee Experiment became more than just a historical event. It became a symbol of systemic racism in healthcare, a reminder that the bodies and lives of Black Americans had been used as tools without consent. The tragedy of Tuskegee lies not only in its cruelty, but in the fact that it could have been avoided at any point during those 40 years. All it would have taken was one person in power to value human dignity over scientific ambition. Instead, generation after generation of public health officials watched the suffering unfold and chose silence. This was not an accident. It was the product of a system that placed Black lives at the bottom of the moral hierarchy, a system that cloaked exploitation in the language of research, and a system that believed the ends justified the means, so long as those means were inflicted on the powerless. Today, the Tuskegee Experiment stands as a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked authority and the necessity of informed consent. It reminds us that science without ethics becomes cruelty disguised as progress, and it forces us to confront a painful truth. History's wounds do not heal simply because time passes. The distrust sown in Tuskegee did not end with the study. It is alive in the skepticism toward vaccines, the reluctance to participate in clinical trials, and the persistent racial disparities in health outcomes. The 40-year lie to Black America is not just a historical stain. It is a living legacy, and one that demands vigilance, accountability, and an unwavering commitment to justice in medicine.